Imagine a machine, a ruthless, perfectly engineered machine built for one single purpose: winning. For decades, the German national football team was exactly that, a cold, calculated force of nature that broke the hearts of dreamers and crushed underdog stories before they could even begin. They were the four-time world champions, the undisputed kings of the penalty shootout, a team that simply did not know how to panic. But what happens when the machine suddenly breaks down? What happens when the kings of composure are pushed to the absolute edge of their sanity by a team nobody believed in? Welcome to Total Football Nexus. Today, we are taking you back to a cold, unforgettable night in Boston during the round of 32 of the 2026 World Cup. A night that defied logic. A night where ghosts of the past collided with the harsh reality of the present. This is the story of how a seemingly invincible giant was brought to its knees, and how a team of fearless warriors from South America scripted one of the most unbelievable fairy tales in the history of the beautiful game. Before the referee even blew the whistle, the script seemed already written. Germany was supposed to dominate. Paraguay was supposed to defend, pray, and eventually crumble under the relentless German pressure. But football, as we know, does not care about scripts. It does not care about history, and it certainly does not care about the weight of a jersey. The match kicked off, and instead of the German machine roaring to life, the entire stadium witnessed something shocking, something completely unnatural. Paraguay did not sit back. They did not show fear. They looked the four-time world champions dead in the eye and attacked. Just 63 seconds into the game. Let that sink in for a moment. 63 seconds. Most fans had not even taken their seats. The German players were barely breaking a sweat. And then it happened. Junior Alonso, with ice in his veins, unleashed a venomous strike. It was the fastest on-target shot Germany had ever faced in their entire World Cup history. The ball rocketed towards the goal, and in that split second, a cold shiver ran down the spine of every single German fan in the Boston Stadium. The shot was saved, but the psychological damage was already done. The invincible German defense was shaking. The machine was rattling. Paraguay had sent a terrifying message. We are not here to survive. We are here to conquer. As the first half dragged on, the panic in the German ranks became painfully obvious. They could not control the midfield. They could not dictate the pace. Julian Nagelsmann stood on the touchline, his face a picture of pure confusion. His tactical masterpiece was being torn apart by a team playing with pure, unadulterated passion. And then, in the 42nd minute, the unthinkable became reality. The stadium held its breath as Matthias Galarza whipped a devastating, curling cross into the German penalty area. The ball seemed to hang in the air for an eternity. The German defenders, usually so dominant in the air, were caught completely out of position. Rising above everyone else, with the hopes of an entire nation on his shoulders, was Julian Alonso. He connected with the ball perfectly. A thunderous header. The net bulged. Silence. Absolute, deafening silence fell over the German supporters. Paraguay had scored. It was their very first goal in the knockout stages of the tournament, and it had just paralyzed the mighty Germany. Julian Alonso ran towards the corner flag, sliding on his knees, screaming into the night sky as his teammates piled on top of him. The underdog had drawn first blood. The impossible was actually happening right in front of our eyes. The halftime whistle blew. Germany was trailing 1-0. The players walked down the tunnel with their heads bowed, the weight of their previous World Cup failures suddenly crushing their chests. Inside the dressing room, you can only imagine the chaos, the desperation. Nagelsmann had to do something. He had to wake up the sleeping giant before it was too late. But as they prepared to step back onto the pitch for the second half, a massive question hung in the thick stadium air. Could this broken German team find the strength to stage a legendary comeback, or was the nightmare just beginning? The answer to that question would involve a desperate substitution, a moment of pure magic, and the most controversial, heartbreaking video assistant ref decision the World Cup had ever seen. But how exactly did it all fall apart? The second half began with an atmosphere so tense you could cut it with a knife. Julian Nagelsmann was desperate. He threw Leon Goretzka into the battle, praying for a miracle, praying for control. But the German team still looked disjointed. They were playing with fear, rushing their passes and leaving gaps at the back. Yet this is Germany we are talking about. Even when they are entirely out of rhythm, even when they look dead and buried, they possess a terrifying ability to claw their way back into existence. The pressure began to mount. Paraguay was defending desperately, putting their bodies on the line for every single ball. But then came the breakthrough. Florian Wirtz, with a sudden flash of absolute brilliance, delivered a cross that was nothing short of perfection. It bypassed the entire Paraguayan defense. Waiting in the box was Kai Havertz. With a precise, glancing header, he redirected the ball into the back of the net. 1-1. The stadium erupted. The German fans, who had been living in absolute agony for over an hour, exploded into wild celebration. The machine was alive. The giant had finally woken up. But the relief was temporary. The match dragged into extra time, and the physical and mental exhaustion began to take its toll on both sides. Legs were heavy, lungs were burning. Every single tackle felt like a matter of life and death. And then the moment of ultimate controversy arrived, the moment that will be debated by football fans for decades to come. Jonathan Tah rose incredibly high and powered a monstrous header into the Paraguayan net. The German players went absolutely wild. They thought they had won it. They thought the nightmare was over. But then the referee blew his whistle and pointed to his ear. The video assistant referee was checking the goal. The stadium fell into a deathly silence. The giant screens showed the replay. German defender Waldemar Anton had apparently blocked the Paraguayan goalkeeper. The referee drew a rectangle in the air. Goal disallowed. The emotional whiplash was devastating. The German players fell to their knees in sheer disbelief. The joy was violently ripped away from them in a matter of seconds. The match was forced into a penalty shootout. Now, history tells us that Germany does not lose penalty shootouts. It is their ultimate comfort zone. But this cold night in Boston was different. The pressure was suffocating. Standing in the Paraguayan goal was Orlando Gil. He did not look like a goalkeeper facing the four-time world champions. He looked like a man possessed. He looked like a solid brick wall. When Kai Havertz stepped up to take his kick, the tension was unbearable. Gil dove perfectly, batting the ball away with a massive hand. He had saved it. The German invincibility was crumbling right before our eyes. The shootout became a brutal war of nerves. Kick after kick, the agony continued. And then it all came down to one man, Jonathan Tah, the very same player who had his winning goal cruelly snatched away by the video assistant referee just minutes earlier. He had to score to keep Germany alive in the World Cup. He took a deep breath, he ran up to the ball, but the pressure was simply too much. He leaned back, striking the ball wildly. It flew high over the crossbar, sailing into the dark night sky. He covered his face with his hands, realizing what he had just done. The stage was set for Jose Canale, the heroic Paraguayan defender who had already made an astonishing 15 clearances in the match. If he scored, Germany was out. He walked to the spot with ice-cold composure. The whistle blew. Canale struck the ball cleanly, sending it straight into the back of the net. It was over. 4-3 on penalties. Paraguay had done the impossible. They marched into the round of 16, leaving behind a trail of tears and disbelief. For Germany, it was the ultimate tragedy. 3 consecutive World Cups ending in absolute humiliation. Questions are now swarming around Julian Nagelsmann. Why were his decisions so erratic? Why was Jamal Musiala brought on so late in the game? Is this the death of German football dominance? We would love to hear what you think about this shocking upset, so please let us know your thoughts down in the comment section.
If you enjoyed this thrilling football story, do not forget to hit the like button, share this video with your friends, and subscribe to Total Football Nexus for more amazing content.